Hey gang, let's refresh ourselves on some graphs of trigonometric functions. It's been a little while since we've seen each other, and it's been a little while since we've seen this. So, just a refresher, everything comes from our circle, from our unit circle. On our unit circle, we have the points 1, 0 at 0 or 360, or 0 or 2 pi, I should say, because we're working with radians. 0, 1 at pi over 2, negative 1, 0 at pi, and 0, negative 1 at 3 pi over 2, and then comes back around. So each quadrant is where our critical points are. So pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, negative pi over 2, negative pi, negative 3 pi over 2, negative 2 pi. So let's talk about our sine function first. So our sine function, y equals sine of x. Our sine corresponds with the y coordinates in this unit circle. So our y coordinates, the highest y coordinate is 1, the lowest y coordinate is negative 1. So I'm going to put those on our scale. And this repeats itself every 2 pi because that's a full circle. A circle repeats itself after 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. So if we start at 0 radians, our y is 0. So at 0, it's 0. Then after a quarter circle, we go up to 1. And then another quarter circle, we're back down at 0 for our y. Then another quarter circle, we're down at negative 1. And then another quarter circle completes a cycle. If we were to go backwards, our y, at 0, we're at 0. Then a quarter circle backwards, we're at negative 1. Another quarter circle backwards, we're at 0 again. Another quarter circle backwards, we're at 1. And then another quarter circle backwards, we're back at 0. And since it's from a circle, it should be a smooth curve. So that's our graph of y equals sine of x. The important points of this. It's at the axis of the wave when it starts. It starts at the axis of the wave, right here. All right? So that's the important point for sine function. And that's the major difference between that and the cosine function. They're going to be the same shape. So our cosine function, we're going to start with that same unit circle. One, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, 0, negative 1. So it's still going to be our 4 quadrants, our 4 points. So pi over 2 pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. And then going backwards, negative pi over 2, negative pi, negative 3 pi over 2, negative 2 pi. But for cosine, our cosine in the unit circle is our x-coordinates. Oops, didn't mean to hit the tripod. Our cosine is the x-coordinates. So our highest x-coordinate is 0. Our lowest x-coordinate is negative 1. So 1, negative 1. I'm sorry, the highest is 1. I said 0, but I meant 1. My apologies. I'm not going to restart the video for that. So if we go through our angles, at our angle 0, our x is 1. So our cosine is 1. And then a quarter circle later, our cosine is 0. Then a quarter circle later, our cosine is negative 1. Then a quarter circle later, our cosine is 0. Oops, forgot parenthesis. And then a quarter circle later, our cosine's back at 1 because it completes the full cycle. At 0 and 2 pi, those are the same position, so they should be the same. Then if we go backwards, 1 is our x-coordinate 0, but 0 is our x-coordinate negative pi over 2, going backwards here. Then going backwards again, we're at negative 1. Going backwards again, we're at 0. And then going backwards again, we're at 1. And then we draw a smooth curve between. What's different here, it's at a maximum when y equals 0. It starts at that maximum. So the sine function, it starts at the axis of the wave. The cosine function starts at the maximum. And that's the major difference. So that's it for the basics of the sine and cosine graph. I'll see you later.